News First, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
On top of the morning to you, this is Newsline, live as always from the News First studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And Sri Lanka has awoken to the news that the Bondgate Commission, the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the issuance of bonds by the central bank, the term has been extended by 3 weeks to the end of December 2017. That was going to be part of our questioning this morning, but let's introduce our guest today, Mr. Maithri Gunaratne. Very good morning to you, Mr.
Morning,
Gunaratne.
morning, Faraz. Thank you for inviting me.
Nice to be here.
I am honored to be here after seeing President Rashid on the programs a few days ago.
President Rashid yesterday. Now, yesterday, did you see lots of similarities between what's happening in the Maldives and what could happen here and what may have happened here?
Definitely.
Especially because of the Foreign Exchange Act. And we are all batting on about this one point in the Foreign Exchange Act. And that is when they repealed the Exchange Control Act, they took away the criminality of foreign exchange. Well, that's some people agree that it doesn't have to be so draconian. But the problem is, when we say to them, what about money laundering? Because you can bring over $1 million and just only pay 1%. Now they say, well, you've got a money laundering act. But the problem with that is that to take action against that act, you need to prove a predicative offense. And there is no such thing in terms of foreign exchange anymore, because it's not criminal. So that seems to be a vacuum. In my mind, it's a vacuum.
Yeah.
I don't know in your legal mind how you would look at it, because there is no criminality involved in terms of the exchange control.
For us, I feel even the Money Laundering Act, what the police is doing at the moment is, when they want to hound out someone, they just mention the Money Laundering Act and they put it to courts. So when they put a few high-profile acts like this, what happens is the magistrates tend to remand.
Right.
And the punishment is given at that stage.
That is the punishment.
That is the punishment, if at all, right? Because I feel it is extremely difficult under these laws and under these conditions to prove such offence. And the money laundering kicks in. You have to show that this is coming from some terrorist type of funding.
Yeah, some sort of tainted funding.
Tainted funding.
Yeah.
So how does one, explain all that?
That's right.
How do you find the evidence for that? Yeah. So when you take the act in its totality, there is a problem with regard to the implementation and the final result, whether you can find that person guilty or not guilty.
Indeed, and then they sort of tend to get away, and it's then sort of very flippantly cast aside, saying that they got away on a technicality.
Technicality, and the other thing is, for us now, there was a trader whom I appeared for. He was a gem trader. He had got a foreign credit card, and he had taken the payment. He had spoken to the bank. Bank had approved the payment. Then the bank had called again and said, hold, don't issue the products. He had done that also. And anyway, bank has called and said, no, you can go ahead and issue. Then what happens is, subsequently, the bank finds out 2 days or 3 days later that this card which has been used was a spurious card.
Right.
Right. The bank complains to the police, to CID. CID comes and arrests the trader and puts him in for money laundering.
For money laundering.
For money laundering.
Right.
And he was in remand for 45 days. Right. And now today, when you look at the case, there is absolutely no evidence with regard to money laundering now. So what they do is they use all these draconian pieces of legislature, and they try to show the magistrate that this is a huge issue and get them remanded maybe 45 days or 2 months or 3 months. That is all which can take place. Other than that, these are only laws. I don't think I can't see anyone being convicted in the near future with regard to these offences.
You know, when you say this, I wanted, this has come up to my mind. Some weeks ago, I went on a visit to the Colombo prison, and it seemed very well run, and everything was rather methodical.
Oh yes, yes.
And the law.
I have been a visitor there.
And they're all in nice lines, and they were quite, the uniforms were clean. These are all the convicted prisoners. I met a prisoner there who was convicted for embezzling the bank in which he worked. For the amount was, well, I won't tell you the amount first.
It's a huge amount.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how many years. It was 8 charges. He had a total of 73 years. And for some reason, which I'm going into now, I want to find out why the judge didn't make it concurrent, so that, at the moment it's not concurrent, so technically he has to serve 73 years, because they're all separate.
Yeah.
But it was just one main offence. Now it's 73 years. This man is now in his late 60s. He's being prepared after 19 years inside. 19 years inside. He is being prepared. That means 9 years under remand and 10 years part of the conviction he served. 19 years. He's being prepared to sort of be rehabilitated, to be released into his family. And that's very nice because they visit the family and so on. But no, my point is 73 years. The amount of money, 5 million rupees. 5 million
rupees.
Now, during the Bond Commission, evidence was heard of an amount of money that was dumped in some safe, in some corporate safe. 165 million rupees. What's happened to that? That money, it's shocking. It's completely shocking.
Faraz, I feel, when you bring this out, the bribery commission seems to have gone to sleep. Faraz.
They've been asleep for a long, long time. It was like they took a Valium during the Rajapaksa years, and also during Chandrika Kumaratunga's years. Let's not forget her. Right? They seem to have taken a Valium.
Not one, maybe about 10.
Maybe about 10. And they've gone into sort of self-induced sleep. Well,
because you don't hear anything about this.
Nothing. What's happening?
There is a bribery commission, there's a huge...
A provincial councillor, Runawala his name is, complained, as a provincial councillor, complained about some payment made by the Treasury to a so-called public interest activist. And it was part of some sort of settlement which had been initiated by the Rajapaksas. And this chap has initiated a complaint saying how come, and that he felt that this was part of a wider bribery case and so on. We have not heard anything. Nothing. And as far as I know, in the matter of the Hilton case, for example, the government have yet to settle the so-called legitimate owners, or people who have had shares in it.
No, Faraz, now, I have made a complaint to the bribery, and the bribery commissioner, or the Director General himself, has apparently seen a paper article and put a note saying that please investigate this, which I thought was a very, very good act.
Right.
So thereafter they called me and they got a statement recorded from me.
Yeah.
This was about a year ago.
Yeah.
To date, for us, no one knows what is happening. And in fact, I spoke to the Commissioner or Director General.
Yeah.
And I told him that this is a very, very serious offence.
Yes.
Where the Supreme Court itself has made certain findings, right? And there is no need of adding 2 and 2, because the highest court of this land has said that these officials have the conduct of these officials have shocked the conscience of court, right? Misled the cabinet.
Yes.
All procurement guidelines have been violated.
Yes.
So, in the light of this judgment, the bribery commission could have acted swiftly and taken these people into custody. And
but they're not doing that.
That is what
and these people are still in office.
Yeah.
They're still in office. They've misled the cabinet of ministers. The cabinet, for heaven's sake, and that's a big cabinet, right? He's misled them, and the court says that their conscience has been shocked by the actions of public officials.
And they're just happily continuing.
At least we had one Chief Justice who, if nothing at all, he made sure that on one occasion he said that he wants an undertaking that that person will not seek public office again, and that he mustn't serve in there.
No, I think you're referring to Chief Justice Arat Silva.
Yes.
I mean, I must say, he was very bold in some of the decisions he made.
Yes.
And in a country like this, judges should consider making decisions like that, because otherwise you're not going to discipline the public sector.
That's right.
You know, if you don't take them to task, if you don't take them to task.
Exactly, and look at the implications. The Auditor General in Maldives wrote and gave his president a report about some vast money laundering case that was going on, and it was a complete fix. I think the amount in question was $1.5 billion. He soon found that he was removed because it led to the president, and there is evidence of the serving president. Well, there's claims subject to court action that he received at least $1 million check into his personal account.
This was the sale of the islands.
That's right, in the Maldives Islamic Bank.
Still, we have not come to...
We haven't come to that level yet.
That level yet.
No.
Now, they're selling the country, they're selling,
Yes,
selling
but they've
the islands.
started, they've got Hambanto, Makta.
Yeah, slowly it's starting, but it's not as bad as that, I suppose.
But they're very good. Under the guise of liberalizing the economy, they're very good. They're selling the family silver.
That's right.
But they're selling them sort of partially. And now we see that the dear Prime Minister is getting involved in the Sri Lankan Airlines matter. So clearly, the fact that he's split all these things up and he's got a minister in charge of public enterprise, as in Mr. Kabir Hashim, clearly, in my lay opinion, the Prime Minister has no confidence in Minister Kabir Hashim to resolve this matter.
No, I think Kabir Hashim has been a total disappointment for these 3 years.
Yeah.
And public enterprise, for us, you get all the enterprises owned by the state.
Yes.
Basically comes under the Ministry of Public Enterprise, and that's a place.
All the golden nuggets are there.
Yeah, that's a place where you need to get very competent private sector type of people to run these organizations.
That's right.
You can't get political lackeys running it, because they are going to run it down.
Absolutely.
Right. So you may be able to put political lackeys, but you will have to monitor their performance and see whether there is an upward trend or a downward revision with regard to the progress of those public enterprises. If there is no scrutiny like that every 3 months, now they have started this key performance indicators and various, but all that is only in paper.
Indeed.
Now no one is taking action.
Yes.
If tell me one place where they have taken action against a guy who has not performed well for us. This whole setup is geared to fix guys who are working and making a profit for the government. That's all I can say.
Some of our regular viewers are on the move. And there's somebody who's let me know that they are on their way to our sacred city, to Anuradhapura. I want to remind our viewers that this program is available on YouTube. And if you just search Newsline, Space TV1, at about in an hour's time, you'll be able to see it. But yes, we shall miss you. And the input that you all see, but have a safe journey there and back. You're absolutely right. There is an abundant lack of professionalism when it comes to running state enterprises. And the people who just don't know anything are sort of, what shall we say, they're parachuted in there because of their service to
because
the party.
because they have been basically stooges, right? It is a opportunity for the party in power to appoint their stooges to various political positions, irrespective of their capability. What I'm saying is, Faraz, you can appoint a friend, you can appoint a relation. That's not the issue, but the issue is whether he's competent.
Indeed.
Now, if
there is nothing to. It's not a disqualification being a relative.
No, it's not. It can't be.
Yeah.
It can't be a disqualification.
Yes. Yeah.
So, even if you appoint all 3 of your brothers, right, and run a place, and if it is run well, why complain?
Correct.
Why complain?
Yeah.
But the issue is this: when you appoint your three brothers, and when you run it down, then you're answerable.
Yes, then
that is an issue.
I think the answerable is the bar is higher then.
It's higher.
Yes,
because
it has to be.
It has to be because you're feathering your own nest basically.
Correct.
Right, and you're also ruining the country in the same process.
Indeed.
So you can't have have it both ways, no, Faraz.
Darcy Jayasekara, the Minister of Sport, was in the news for the wrong reasons. but you know, he has a point though. If there is a rule, and if he's supposed to, as the minister, if the procedure says that you need his approval, then you need his approval.
Definitely.
If you want to do away with that procedure, then you must do away with the procedure.
Correct.
And so, in that limited instance, I feel for the minister's actions. Apparently, they had to return back from the airport, but that shows a breakdown in this due process, and that's what we've been going on about from day one. The Daily News editorial yesterday or the day before said that some media are exaggerating the lapses in government. I mean, what wonderful words. If you call, what about the supply of coal? What about all these other matters?
No, for us, okay, if the Daily News is saying that, I mean, what do they say? What do they say the exaggerations are?
Exactly.
I mean, they will have to come and they just can't make a bold statement.
Indeed.
And what I'm telling you is, for us today, I mean, I have been representing rural electorate, and I still have my connections and still into political networking and things like that. Now, when you go to the village, and if there is an issue in the village, right?
Yeah.
First thing they say, "Abhi media ekata kiyamu." So if there is an issue, the first thing I think which will come to your mind and my mind is, shall we make a complaint to the police?
Yeah.
Now it's not that. That comes, I think, third or fourth.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So the first thing which comes to the minds of the people, api make a media kar demo. So that is the confidence the people are showing with regard to the media, because it is the media which has come and bought all these scandals to light, has been bought by the media.
Absolutely.
Right? So if someone is saying, and the other question is for us, has anyone prosecuted? I think you all have bought a lot of scandals. You have bought a lot of scandals.
Yeah.
From the coal scandal in the previous regime.
Indeed.
To the scandal of this regime.
Yeah.
Now, there were white vans also, floating about then.
Yeah.
Right? Now, has anyone filed action against you for having bought something which is wrong, which is incorrect, which has been exaggerated? Or has anyone sent you a letter of demand?
Yes, they have actually in this government. Mr. Aloysius, poor chappie.
That speaks a lot.
They must have been misguided. And that's all we can do is just laugh. And as Govindasri says, that the reward for our inquisitiveness and our desire to get to the bottom of these things was rewarded by letters of demand. We don't give a tuppence.
No, that is a way of intimidation.
It is, yes.
It is a very, very civilized way of intimidation.
Yes, but we countersued.
Okay.
And we said that we would pursue that if they didn't. This claim is basically very frivolous, and all what we said has been in the public interest.
Definitely.
There is no other way. It's a departure from process, and that's the way it is, you know.
And for us, whatever is in public interest, whatever is the truth, anyone is free to speak it.
Now, I was going to ask you, the coconuts, the price of coconuts have broken the 100 rupee barrier. The Bond Commission report was due out tomorrow, but it's now being extended to the 31st of December. So, people will hopefully be working during the season. But I want to ask you, what is the impact on this report on the United National Party?
For us, even before the report is out, the repercussions on the United National Party, I think, is quite heavy, because activists, I've met very much of the activists who are involved with the UNP. They are finding it difficult to go out to the villages and start campaigning with regard because of this bond issue, and especially because the Prime Minister, the Chairman, the General Secretary, and the assistant deputy leader, all of them, and very prominent MPs of the United National Party firing line, right, have been what do you call bought into this bond scam.
Yes, been sort of questioned.
Roped in, and the other thing is this: there is a cloud of suspicion,
indeed,
right, on their conduct, which they have not been able to answer properly. Now, I think actually Dasiri Jayasekara, he came out and he gave a very
good rational explanation.
Yes. Which people are willing to accept.
Yes.
For us.
I mean, he was quite open. He said, yes, look, I have spoken to him.
Yeah.
I know him from before.
Yeah.
He supported me at some election or other, and he made a call, and he said, I told him that you're really implicated and I can't help you.
Precisely. I mean, that's a reasonable explanation.
Indeed.
And as right-thinking people, I mean, there is every possibility of us accepting it.
Yes.
Now, when you take the rest,
yeah,
I mean, they are explanations for us. I mean, can you?
Well, including one chap, Steve Samuel, who said that he didn't know what HON dot capital P capital M on PM meant. You know, he's some sort of Totta Baba, isn't he? If he doesn't know what that means.
I know.
And he's insulting the intelligence
of the general public.
And actually, he should have been done in for contempt because he's saying that under oath to 3 commissioners been appointed by the President, 2 of whom are judges of the Supreme Court. For heaven's sake, that he doesn't know this, what PM means. And, you know, the Prime Minister says at the Commission that he resents the insinuation. Yeah, right. Guess what, Mr. Prime Minister? I resent the theft of the public's monies. I resent that. What about that then?
Precisely.
You know,
precisely.
No one's talking about that.
Yeah.
This chap, some imported lackey of theirs, Steve Samuel, comes along there under oath, says that he doesn't know what HON PM meant. He typed the blessed SMS.
And he says that he doesn't know.
And he doesn't know. And he's telling his boss, Arjun Aloysius, to get the minutes of the meeting that the Prime Minister had with some Treasury officials from abroad. And he reminds his boss that the auction is tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah.
These matters, no wonder Dapula de Oliveira wanted to ask so many questions.
No, but, and if Dapul had lost his temper, when fellows like this act in this manner for us, who won't lose the temper?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is atrocious. No, the way the manner
it is completely atrocious. It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And do you know, I do wish that the Prime Minister, I know that it's not legal, it's all possible, but I do wish that the Prime Minister came like any other witness
and
was cross-examined properly, not by writing letters and affidavits and so on.
Yeah.
Because that way, if Mr. De Oliveira was able to question him, or Mr. Kodagana, and if they didn't have this sort of impediment that they were questioning the Prime Minister, then perhaps it could have been different.
No, for us, our constitution very clearly says all are equal before the law. For Ravi Karunanayaka to be cross-examined and, you know, them eliciting all the truth. Now, it was because of the cross-examination of Ravi Karunanayaka that this whole thing came out.
Indeed.
Right? So, that was a fair process, and ultimately Ravi had to resign.
Indeed.
He had to resign.
And actually, in the end of the day, he did the right thing.
Yeah. But, now, what is the special privilege the Prime Minister has for him not to be cross-examined?
Exactly.
And is anyone compelled or bound to accept his word as the truth and nothing but the truth?
Exactly.
Right? In any court, cross-examination is the tool which is used to elicit the truth.
Absolutely.
You confront them as to why you took this decision instead of taking this decision. Now, that process had not been followed. I mean, I think that is a serious omission, right?
It has to be a serious omission.
And if Mr. Dappula Livera and Yasantha Kodagoda maintain the same momentum with regard to the cross-examination of Ravi Karunanayake, with regard on the Prime Minister, he would have, it was on that day that he would have to go home.
Absolutely. And also, I'd like to point out that one of the telecom service providers has not, they wanted about 4 months or 120 days to supply the details of the SMS messages. I'd like to point out that that period will end after the commission is over. And so perhaps, I don't know how that's going to work out, but it sounds terribly unfair that what could well be some key evidence
the commission doesn't have the benefit of it.
Exactly. And it's a bit like Wasim Tajuddin and so on.
Yeah.
And that service provider says, oh, well, we don't have those records. And, you know, it's completely unacceptable.
No, but Faraz, if the other providers have given it, and if this particular provider is not giving it,
indeed,
I mean, then there is some kind of sinister conduct on with regard to the provider.
I will have to borrow a term made popular by President Maithri Rajapaksa, Jilmart. I'm sorry, I hope you don't have the rights on that, President Rajapaksa, but it's nothing but a Jilmart.
So was it him or it was...
I don't know, he used, I remember him using
No, the Jilmart word came with regard to election, fixing of the results.
Yes,
after Sarath Fonseca's election,
right, after that.
Computer Jilmart.
Computer Jilmart, indeed. I remember those dark days when the one of the Colombo hotels was surrounded by the army and so on, and we were all stuck in there. And they were
when they lost.
And so
they put it on Computer Jilmart.
Computer Jilmart. But basically, final question: will there be an impact on the United National Party?
Oh, definitely. There has to be an impact on the United National Party. The people are not going to take it. And the other thing is, for us, the leaders before, Mr. Wickramasinghe, D.S. Senanayake, Dudley Senanayake, Jayat Jayawardena, they have been leaders of exemplary conduct. They have never got involved in such things.
They have been a colossus.
Right. They have been a colossus. Now, you take Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe, Batalanda Commission he was involved. He had to be brought in and questioned.
Yeah.
Then the bond scam he has been in. I mean, he claims to be Mr. Clean. He claims to be Mr. Clean.
Somebody said that image has been tainted now.
Not tainted. That image has gone. It has gone, and he claims also to be some president of some democratic organization worldwide.
Yes.
You know, all this. I mean, he should.
What democracy?
He should, with all this kind of allegations against him continuously, either he must learn or he must follow his college motto, Diske or Diske Day, learn or depart.
Indeed. Maithri Gunaratne, it's been wonderful. I wish you and your family a wonderful season.
Same to you.
And especially your dad too. We must have him here on the program. And that's the way it was from Newsline. Remember that the Bond Commission has been extended. The term's been extended to the end of December 2017. Take care and God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.